Spargaro keeping Bagnaia at bay right now. Here we go, then dropping further back into the field.
No, here's an interesting battle. Look, it's Bastianini now catching Bagnaia. So rather than going forwards, Bagnaia is now coming under pressure from the rider who we saw passing for victory on the last lap a week ago.
So we are getting Bagnaia, Bastianini, chapter 3, but not where we thought it was going to be. After their epic showdowns on the last lap in both Misano and Aragon, they're a lot further down the field here, aren't they, so far here in Motegi? And that's the fight for 11th and 12th. Here comes the beast then on the inside of Bagnaia, safely through down the hill into turn number 11, although Bagnaia just says no, you're not having that. Straight back underneath him through the 90-degree corner. Great fight further back down the field then. Bagnaia and Bastianini fighting for crucial World Championship points here.
Well, remember the comments from Ducati before this when team orders became a subject. They said if it's for a win, we'll let you go for it. If it's for points further back, we might ask you to think sensibly. This is not really doing Ducati any good here with Bastianini and Bagnaia battling for 11th because they're losing time to Pol Espargaro up ahead of them. They might be best served here at the moment, these two Ducati riders, just to follow each other and close up on Pol Espargaro ahead. Marini, though, has now passed Quartararo for 8th.
Miller's pace at the front of this Grand Prix is absolutely stunning. He's just on another fastest lap of 1:45.424. That was just a little bit quicker than Jorge Martin in second place. Binder still holding on to third. Oliveira fourth. Two factory KTMs inside the top 4. Great day here for them so far in Japan.
Here's the move from Marini. Does Quartararo maybe make a mistake here into turn 1? Just takes the apex balloons a little bit wide and the door opens up and Marini is happy to turn it tighter and just carve up the inside. And with the straight line speed of that Ducati, it doesn't compromise him on the exit either.
Have we just seen that? A Ducati turning tighter and better than a Yamaha. Miguel Oliveira then fires up the inside of his teammate Brad Binder into turn 9. That's an inter-team struggle going on there between the two factory KTM. Disadvantage Oliveira on this lap number 5. He's made the move on Binder into turn number 9. He had to make that move because Miller and Martin are starting to stretch away at the front of this Grand Prix.
Yeah, two pulling away at the front. Then we have a trio battling for the final podium position at the moment because Marc Marquez is just on the tail of the KTM. So Marquez, who switched to that softer rear tyre on the grid, it didn't give him that initial grip that he hoped for because he fell backwards on the opening lap. Maverick Vinales is still running behind him in 6th position, but he's unable to match the pace of the riders up ahead of him. He's got a queue behind him involving Marini and Quartararo.
That's the problem, isn't it, for Marquez now, because he put in that soft tyre, hoping he could get the whole shot, lead the Grand Prix and take advantage of that extra grip. It didn't work out right from the get-go. Miller, that's 3 laps in a row now that Jack Miller has set the fastest lap of this Grand Prix, a 1:45.336. Jorge Martin trying to respond and go with him. He found a PB lap on the 89 bike behind him at 1:45.4. But those two at the front of this Grand Prix, they're the only two in the 45s. Oliveira in third was nearly 7/10 behind Jack Miller's pace. The two Ducati men at the front of this Grand Prix on a totally different level.
Outside of the top 3, the fastest rider on track is Aleix Espargaro, running in 24th as Bastianini almost shades of Misano there, nearly running into the back of Bagnaia. Zarco there makes a mistake, so that has promoted his countryman Quartararo up a place, back into 8th. But Aleix Espargaro is as fast as the leading 3, or certainly as fast as Oliveira in 3rd. Still points up for grabs here for Aleix yet.
Not sure what's happening to Zarco on this lap because he started it in P7. You can see though Marini, Quartararo and Pol Espargaro have all got through on the French, but there's obviously been a big mistake somewhere
wide in turn 5
in the first half of this lap. Yeah, that's what allowed Pol Espargaro through. At that stage though, Marini and Quartararo had already gone through, so a very scrappy lap number 6 from the man who started in 2nd place. We're on board
again,
with Basti. Yeah, there's something going on here with Johan Zarco. I don't know if he's got some kind of problem because that's the 3rd big blunder he's made on this 6th lap. It's all unravelling for the man who started in 2nd place. Not the way that Zarco wanted to celebrate his 100th Grand Prix Motegi. The Ducati management cannot relax, can they, here for 1 second, because Bastianini swarming all over the rear tyre of Pecco Bagnaia under the 2nd of the Motegi tunnels into the final couple of corners. They'll flick it right now for the victory corner. It will not be a victory for Bagnaia or Bastianini here in Motegi.
Yeah, they'll be watching that battle through the gaps in their fingers, and of course both Bagnaia and Bastianini will probably be able to see up ahead of them Fabio Quartararo, the World Championship leader. As it stands, it's very small gains that Quartararo's making, but he would increase his lead as it stands by another 2 points.
Lewis Zarco on that lap number 6 lost 7 places. He came up like he did a 1:48.7. that was over that was 3.5 seconds slower than your race leader, Jack Miller. So a major problem hit Johan Zarco on that lap number 6. He was 7th at the start of it and came over the line, marooned down in 13th place. Nightmare for the Frenchman.
So this is the battle then between the factory KTMs, who we said before the race got underway, they seem to have made progress recently, particularly with their qualifying pace. Oliveira and Brad Binder both starting inside the top 8, and at the moment they're battling for the final podium position, lapping in the 145s. Both of them did personal best last time around to put a bit more time between themselves and Marc Marquez. But this is the interesting battle on track. First and second last time around, 10th and 11th here, but still battling for every last point.
This is nerve-wracking, isn't it, for the Borgo Panigale factory? And now Bastianini just can't find a way through, can he, on Pecco Bagnaia? Just slightly wider line going into the braking zone for turn 10. A quick check on the latest Spargo. He's picked his way through on Takuya Suda. Joan Mir's replacement on the factory Suzuki. He's also just got through as well on HRC wildcard Tetsuta Nagashima. So latest Spargo up to 23rd place. In terms of getting himself in a point-scoring contention, he's, what, 4 seconds behind Alex Rins, who's in that final point-scoring place in 15th right now.
This pair that we're watching, the Ducatis of Bastianini and Bagnaia, they're now starting to get held up by Pol Espargaro. You could see them sort of bottling up behind that Repsol Honda into the victory corner. So it's important now for Bagnaia to make this move quickly. If Pol Espargaro is starting to fade, he did do a personal best last time round, but it was only at 46.2. Here is Aleix Espargaro then, who's now got another of the home favourites to deal with. It's Taka Nakagami up ahead of him. This is a long queue of riders up ahead of Aleix Espargaro, which of course would lead in all the way into the points.
There's points up for grabs though here, isn't there, for Aleix Espargaro? And that'll be a real good rescue mission, a right good salvage job after all the drama that happened. This was the start of the problems right off the start of the warm-up lap then. Issues for Aleix Espargaro.
I think he knows straight away, doesn't he, that something's wrong. So hand up immediately.
Yeah, I don't know if there's some kind of issue with the gearbox there or something majorly went wrong, didn't it? Massimo Rivola, the Aprilia Racing CEO, when they reflect, if they don't win this MotoGP World title in 2022, they may well look back and rue today here in Japan. At the moment, a man who's having a phenomenal race here at Motegi is your race leader, Jack Miller, who's just starting to eke out a significant advantage here through Sector 2 on this lap number 8. It's the biggest lead he's had so far over Martin in second place, 8 tenths. In fact, he's just come through the third sector now and found another 10th. Miller building up an advantage which will be over a second potentially at the end of this lap number 8.
Here is Bagnaia then, still frustrated behind Pol Espargaro, unable to brake late enough to get through. Of course, we're watching here the two riders who will make up the factory Ducati team next season. The two riders leading the Grand Prix were the two riders that they overlooked for those rides, Jack Miller and Jorge Martin. They're certainly making their point this afternoon.
Can you believe this? Even though he's in a relatively lowly 8th by his exceptionally high standards, Fabio Quartararo on course to increase his World Championship lead by a couple of points if it stays as is. The biggest loser in that top 3 right now clearly will be Aleix Espargaro, who as it stands is losing 8 points to Fabio Quartararo, slipping 24 points. That's one full race win behind Quartararo, potentially 16 laps to go here in Motegi. We have to mention the fact that, of course, Jack Miller, should we be surprised? Should we be shocked that he's dominated this Grand Prix? In our only full dry session of this weekend so far, who topped that extended FP1 on Friday? Jack Miller.
Yeah, he was quickest ahead of his teammate Pecco Bagnaia, who's not enjoying the same kind of fortune here this afternoon. He won't feel like it at the moment, but Fabio Quartararo might see this as a bit of a win if he can finish where he is now, with both Bagnaia and Bastianini and Aleix Espargaro, of course, behind him on track, because this was a circuit where he perhaps expected to lose some points to the Ducatis. Speaking of Ducatis, here's one on the move, Luca Marini, who's got some serious pace at the moment. He's lapping in the low 46s and clearly looks as if he's got more potential than Maverick Vinales up ahead of him.
On that last lap, Brad Binder set his personal best lap of the Grand Prix. Keeping contact. Here goes the beating on the inside of Bagnaia. Bagnaia had the left foot off the foot peg there, didn't he? Braking for that first gear, turn number 10. Miller's advantage over the line to start this lap number 9 was over a second. Simon, down to you.
Yeah, something about Jack. I know the fans of Jack will be worried about the tyre life. You know, that's often got him. He did those fast laps in practice on the softer tyres, but he's on the hard rear. I think he can go all the way.
I think you're absolutely right, Simon, because he's just stretching away. Miller has just set another fastest lap of the Grand Prix. This could be game over. This is in Jack Miller's hands here. He's just at a 1:45, 1:98. 1.7 seconds now clear of Jorge Martin. He took 8/10 out of Miller on that lap. Brad Binder, we just said he was getting into his rhythm. He has now taken back, reclaimed third place from his teammate Miguel Oliveira. They can see those two sweeping through turn 3. So Binder back into P3 on bike 33.
Yeah, something happened to Oliveira last time round. He did a 1:46.8 on the last time round. The slowest rider in the leading 15. So something clearly happened on that lap. Yellows are out in sector 1. It's Tetsuta Nagashima, sadly, who'd just been given a track limits warning. Well, that's immaterial now because he's crashed out at turn 2. But Oliveira, clearly a mistake on the last lap, which has relegated him back behind his teammate.
This is one of the best Grand Prix I think I've seen Jack Miller ride. He's just streaking away at the frontier. As it stands, this is just an exhibition show. A one-man demolition job being put in here by the Australian. What a boost this would be with his home Grand Prix coming up in Philippines in a few weeks' time, straight after the Thai Grand Prix in Buriram. He's getting married. He said in a pre-race interview I did with him on Thursday, he's at the happiest he's been in his racing career, his personal life. It's an old cliche, isn't it? A happy rider is a fast rider. He's tying the knot in a couple of weeks' time. He did joke, actually. He said, I need a couple of podium bonuses to pay for all the flowers that his fiancée Ruby's been ordering, but this would be...
How about a win bonus?
Yeah, a win bonus coming here for Jack Miller. This is awesome stuff by the Aussie. Bastianini snaking that Green Ducati into turn number 11. It was snake left, it's snake right, but he kept it to the apex, trying to find a way through here on Pol Espargaro open 9.
Yeah, can he do anything then about the number 44? Because Bagnaia tried for a number of laps and couldn't really get anywhere with Pol Espargaro. Interesting what Marco Bezzecchi does now in 12th position. Of course, he's a rookie, also on a Ducati. He's very close now up behind Pecco Bagnaia, but I'm not so sure how emboldened he'll feel to make a move on the World Championship challenger.
Something's happened to Jorge Martin on that last lap because he did a 47 flat. Yeah, he made a mistake somewhere, didn't he? Now that has given Miller what surely is already an unassailable advantage of over 3 seconds. We're still shy, a couple of laps shy of half race distance. A long way to go here in Motegi, but it's Jack Miller with a massive advantage of over 3 seconds. Martin's still in second place. His comfortable lead over Binder's been reduced to just under 2 seconds. Marc Marquez has been kind of stuck in 5th right from the get-go here, hasn't he, from the very early stages of this 24-lap race. Marquez at the moment half a second behind Miguel Oliveira. In turn, he's about 1.5 seconds clear of Viñales in 6th.
I think Bagnaia's in problems here, Matt. He's not able to go with Enea Bastianini. Bastianini passed him a lap or 2 ago, and he's quickly left him behind and moved here onto the rear wheel of Pol Espargaro's Repsol Honda, but you cannot see Bagnaia in the picture. Look, here he is in the back of the screens. There's a serious gap opening up between Bastianini and Bagnaia. I think Marco Bezzecchi, as I say, maybe won't be too bold to make a move unless he's got absolutely no choice but to go through. But Bagnaia coming here thinking he might be leading as the World Championship leader. He looks like he's going to be losing ground at this stage.
Luca Marini just threatening to show Maverick Viñales a front wheel. There goes Bastianini then through on Pol Espargaro. He does finally pick up P9 then. Down into the 90-degree corner on this lap number 11. We're approaching the halfway stage here of the Japanese Grand Prix. It's a massive lead for Jack Miller. He's still doing mid to high 145s, pace that nobody else has really got in this Grand Prix. Martin did regroup after his big mistake on lap number 10. He's back in the 45s as well, but Miller still took 2/10 out of him to increase his lead. Oh, that's Pol Espargaro wide, and Bagnaia goes through then. Pol Espargaro makes a key mistake there in his 150th MotoGP start into the first corner. Bagnaia then now into the top 10 for the first time in this Grand Prix. Can you believe we're saying that? It's taken Pecco Bagnaia until lap 12 to get himself inside the top 10.
Needs every point he can get here, Pol Espargaro for Pecco Bagnaia. This is the move that Bastianini put in on the inside. Very nearly contact there. Look how close that was between the two Ducati teammates of 2023. You can see what Paolo Ciabatti and Davide Tardozzi think of that. Tardozzi very much not in favour of that particular move.
Well, if you're not going to implement team orders, it's a free-fall, isn't it? I know Bastianini perfectly within his rights if there are no instructions not to attack Pecco Bagnaia, but to go for it. Oh, blimey, there might be a red flag. We could have a red flag here. We could have a red flag.
He needs to get off the circuit.
Takuya Suda, the Suzuki Wildcard, well, the replacement for Joan Mir, he's got to get off
He's
that.
Not seen
he doesn't realise that that bike is on fire. His feet are going to get so hot now. Jump off it, Suda-san, quickly. A major technical malfunction then, to say the least, for the factory Suzuki. The X-Star machine in a ball of fire. Are we gonna, well, let's hope for Jack Miller's sake we don't get a red flag. Let's hope there was no oil drop, because this will be cruel in the extreme for Jack Miller, who's running away with this Japanese Grand Prix. Of course, the marshals will be quickly assessing the situation. They'll be feeding back information to race direction. Jack Miller over the line then to complete lap number 12, his half race distance, short off for Motegi. Look at this pace here from Thriller Miller, just lapping in the 1:45's 4 fun, his best on lap 9, that 1:45.1, taking it away from Jorge Martin in second place. Here he comes in into that sector 2. This is where we saw the massive blow up then for Takuya Suda, the replacement of Joan Mir on the factory Suzuki. You don't see that very often on a Monday MotoGP bike, a massive implosion like that.
Simon, down to you.
Guys, I'm just really nervous because these guys are coming through now, and we're going to find out if there's any oil down. They've got yellow flags, no oil flags, touch wood.
Yeah, best possible news there, because all of the leading pack have got safely through. So whatever happened to that factory Suzuki, the big fireball on that GSX-RR, there was obviously no fluid dropped onto the circuit. That's the best possible news. We don't want a red flag here to disrupt Jack Miller's relentless charge towards what will be his 4th victory in the MotoGP World Championship. His advantage is going to be very quickly 4 seconds. At the moment, this is a good battle. Maverick Vinales defending this 6th place quite magnificently against Luca Marini. Marini has threatened to make a move on the Spaniard ahead of him, but just can't find a way through, can he?
And here's Fabio Quartararo then running in 8th position. He's the next rider on track behind that battle between Vinales and Marini. Quartararo's lapping in the low 46s. He's not able to get ready within a second of this particular dice up ahead of him. If they start battling with each other, that might bring him into contention, but Quartararo's going to have trouble soon, because Enea Bastianini is gently closing in on the back of his fellow championship rival, I guess we should call him, with Bagnaia being dragged along with him.
Well, Ducati might not have been happy that Bastianini forced the issue on Bagnaia at turn 10. They'll be very happy if he can get through a Quartararo, because that'll be taking more World Championship points away from the Frenchman. Got to say here, Maverick Vinales is doing an absolutely brilliant job. He's got so much confidence in that front tyre. As soon as I say that, though, he runs it wide in the first corner. The brilliant work he's been doing, all and done very, very quickly. Marini goes through. They're side by side in the braking zone now, one of the hardest braking zones in Motegi to turn number 3. Marini has the inside line. Nothing Vinales can do about that. So having done all that hard work to defend 6th place, it all comes unstuck with the tiniest of mistakes going into first corner. Marini through then into top 6.
We've seen on a few occasions earlier on this season Marini with good late race pace, so keep an eye out for him in the latter stage of this Grand Prix. He's got a couple of seconds to make up if he's going to catch Marc Marquez for 5th position, and Marquez of course will be hoping that that softer rear tyre lasts the distance. Still an awful lot of racing to go in this Grand Prix. Miller comfortably clear of Martin. Brad Binder has just set a personal best lap of the Grand Prix. He's got 0.8 of a second in his pocket over Oliveira, with Marquez still shadowing the factory KTMs just ahead of this dice.
Aleix Espargaro then down in 21st place. Alex Rins having a nightmare farewell for Suzuki in their home Grand Prix. What on earth has gone on with Rins? He's down in 20th place at the moment. 20.4 seconds off Jack Miller already, just over the halfway stage of this Grand Prix. Is there some kind of issue for Alex Rins, because he was in the point scoring places not that long ago, but he's slipping right out of contention. Yellow flags are out in sector 3.
Binder, I just saw his name sliding down the order, so I think Darren Binder is out of this Grand Prix. There is your confirmation that he has crashed out of the Grand Prix, and we have to think about it, the championship implications. That does promote Aleix Espargaro 1 place closer to the points.
So let's find out then what happened to Binder, just losing the front going through turn number 9. He was just ahead there, wasn't he, of Alex Rins? Pretty frustrated with that one. Unfortunately then Binder goes down out. His sibling, elder brother Brad, upholding family honour and some. He's in 3rd place still. In fact, he's just put his advantage over his teammate Oliveira to over a second. Another 2/10 quicker on that last lap was Brad Binder, on course for just his 2nd podium of the season. It's all in the hands of this man on the number 43 factory Ducati. Look at the advantage that Jack Miller has here. This is now just a test of Miller's focus, a test of his concentration. 10 laps to go, and he's a country mile clear of Martin, 4.1 seconds ahead of the Prima Prama Ducati man, who himself is in search of a first podium since Catalunya absolutely. That's been a barren run of late for Jorge Martin. He's second with a big gap then back to Binder of nearly 2 seconds in third.
We were riding on board a moment ago there with the reigning world champion. Here he is, Fabio Quartararo. That jockeying around between Marini and Vinales on the last lap did help Quartararo. He's now closed in on the back of Vinales, who of course with that mistake did a 1:47.0. So there is the potential here for another point to be picked up for the world champion. This would be 7th place and 9 valuable world championship points if he can get past his former Yamaha teammate, of course. So Vinales, of course, knowing that Aleix Espargaro is down the back of the field, will certainly be highly motivated for a couple of reasons to ensure that Quartararo scores as few points as possible.
It was a great pole position yesterday for Marc Marquez, but it's not been the 150th MotoGP start we were expecting. There's not been too many times in the previous 149 Grand Prix in the Premier class where Marc Marquez hasn't made a single overtake. He's been stuck in that 5th place pretty much for the entirety of this Grand Prix. He got a pretty good initial launch off the line, didn't he, going towards that first corner. Brad Binder got up the inside of him, and since then Marc Marquez has just been in a relatively lonely 5th place. He just can't get within half a second, can't get within striking distance of Miguel Oliveira. Back in 6th place, 1.8 seconds further back is Luca Marini, but very unusual scenario here to see Marc Marquez not really make any significant inroads, not make an overtake in this Grand Prix.
That's the live championship then. It would be 25 points covering your leading three. Alex Rins, his miserable afternoon complete. He's now pulled into the pits, so both factory Suzukis pulling out of this Grand Prix clearly with their own various problems. Aleix Espargaro is continuing to close in on the points. He is now up into 18th position. He's got 1.7 seconds to make up to Fabio Di Gianantonio and Cal Crutchlow up ahead.
That's a pretty humiliating way to say farewell to MotoGP in Japan for Hamamatsu Factory Suzuki. The big engine blowout for Suda-san earlier on in this Grand Prix. Thankfully, it didn't drop any oil or fluid onto the circuit. And Alex Rins, we could see he was dropping through the field like a stone. Clearly, a mechanical problem for Rins as well. So a nightmare for the Factory Suzuki team. 2 retirements for them. Not the way they wanted to say farewell to MotoGP in front of their home crowd. Marquez then just starting to put a bit of pressure on, a bit of heat on Miguel Oliveira. You'd imagine this stage of the Grand Prix though as well now. This is a really taxing phase for Marc Marquez. He felt like this was going to be a real tough physical challenge with the hard braking zones, one of them right here into the 90-degree corner. He's still nowhere near full strength, full fitness-wise, muscle-wise and strength-wise in that right arm, but he's doing a great job hanging on there in 5th spot.
Yeah, he tried to talk down his potential victory prospects yesterday, didn't we? We weren't sure whether to believe him, but clearly Marc Marquez knows his body better than any of us, and he has been proven right in this Grand Prix. Not able to go with the leaders. No one's been able to hold a candle to Jack Miller here this afternoon, quite frankly. He is now 4.5 seconds out in front, doing low 146s. I have to say, credit to Cal Crutchlow, his good friend. He matched Jack Miller's lap time last round, doing a 46.0. He's currently up behind Franco Morbidelli. The 2 Yamaha riders currently fighting over the final point. They could do a job for Fabio Quartararo in holding Aleix Espargaro off late on here.
It's looking highly unlikely that Aleix Espargaro will rescue any points here today in Motegi. He's crossed the line in 18th place. To get to Frankie Morbidelli for 1 single point in this Japanese Grand Prix, he's got to find 5 seconds, and there's just 7.5 laps of this Mobil Grand Prix of Japan remaining. It all went horribly wrong right from the get-go, didn't it? As he started the warm-up lap, clearly there was a problem on that Aprilia RSGP. Maybe he was even fortunate to make it around that warm-up lap for Aleix Espargaro to pit at the end of it to get onto his spare bike. Now then, Marquez is finding some good late race speed here. The gap to him and Miguel Oliveira, that's the closest Marquez has been to the Portuguese man. It was down to 0.3 of a second in that 3rd sector.
Marquez still getting some grip then from that softer rear tyre, making that switch on the grid. Maverick Vinales, he was another rider to make a late switch on the grid. He went to the medium rear tyre. Now we look back to that battle for 4th position. Brad Binder has pulled clear of this now, still lapping in the low 146s, so it is a straight fight now between Oliveira and Marquez for 4th. Marini has comfortably gapped Maverick Vinales in the battle for 5th and 6th position, so it looks like Vinales now is going to be looking behind and trying to keep Quartararo at bay. Just a few tenths of a second separating the 2 former teammates.
It's been a pretty unforgettable afternoon so far for Johan Zarco, who started in 2nd place. He's going to come over the line in a distant 13th. He had those problems a few laps ago. He's dropped back through, like I said. In fact, he's back in the 147s again now. Yoshihiro Hidaka, the Yamaha motor president, then looking on. to see Fabio Quartararo potentially extend his lead in the World Championship as it stands right now, picking up a couple of points over his close adversary, Pecco Bagnaia. He'd want more, and he's honing in on more here because Maverick Vinales just ahead of him, a couple of tenths ahead.
Yeah, that's right on board with the world champion. He's getting a good view there of his former teammate and seeing where the Aprilia is strong. He's just not been able to break through that sort of half-second margin that he's got. He's not been able to get within closing distance and attacking range of Maverick Vinales. So Quartararo, 8th position at the moment. Certainly wouldn't have been what he wanted when he came to Japan, but it would certainly be a satisfactory result given where his other title rivals are in the race.
Simon, I believe you've got some important information with the issue that affected the latest Spargo before it was lights out for this Japanese Grand Prix.
Well, it was definitely an electronic problem. It's going to come out after the race, the exact cause, but it was electronic problem. And with RINs, I haven't got confirmation, but they were all the engineers, mechanics looking at the front of the bike, front tyre, front wheel, front brake, sensor around there.
Thanks for that, Simon. Yeah, we're going to be intrigued. Aprilia are going to be mobbed, aren't they? It's going to be a big crowd for the media gathering at latest Spargo's debrief a little bit later on this afternoon because a hammer blow for his world title hopes. It looks like he's going to run out of time to get himself back into point-scoring contention, although we have to say there's not really been massive damage inflicted to him here right now with Quartararo 8th, Bagnaia in 10th position. But you've got to think, though, Aleix Espargaro would have fancied being ahead of those two in this Grand Prix. He had podium potential. Big disappointing day for Aleix Espargaro and the factory Aprilia team.
It's Marc Marquez starting to fade a little bit up ahead of this battle. He's just done a 1:46.7. There are two reasons why Marc Marquez might start to lose a little bit of pace in these closing stages. First of all, that softer rear tyre that he's running, but also the physical strain. It is a really physical circuit here on your upper body, and of course Marc Marquez, with that reason, he operated humerus and his right shoulder. Did a 1:46.7 last time round. He lost 0.8 of a second to the chasing Luca Marini.
Bagnaia's coming on strong late on here in Japan as well. He's at the back of that group involving Vinales, Quartararo, Bastianini. He's in 10th place. He's just done a PB lap here. Pecco Bagnaia got down to 1:45.922, which is quicker than his teammate race leader Jack Miller. So do not rule out Bagnaia, who so often has great late speed, great late race pace. There still may well be a potential 7th place up for grabs here for the Italian.
He's got 6 laps to try and make that time up. Aleix Espargaro is fast running out of time to try and score any points. He's doing everything he can. He's going to have to rely on some incidents up ahead of him, we think, because this is Fabio Di Gianantonio that he's up behind on the Grassini Racing Ducati. You can see how close Aleix Espargaro gets to the braking there for turn 10. This is for 17th position. The bad news for Aleix Espargaro, as Matt mentioned a lap or two ago, is that he's got 4 seconds of empty tarmac up ahead of him to Cal Crutchlow in 16th.
Bitter pill to swallow. A tough one to take this will be for Aleix Espargaro, not capitalising on the fact that he'd out-qualified his main championship rivals Quartararo and Bagnaia in really treacherous wet conditions here in Motegi yesterday. You feel like this is a blown opportunity for him and particular factory Aprilia team. We're on board there now with world champion Fabio Quartararo potentially increasing his lead in the world championship by a couple of points over Bagnaia.
Another personal best for Bagnaia.
Yeah, 45.616 he has found his rhythm late on here. And Brad Binder, he's just starting to close in here. Binder, credit to him, a 1:45.745. This battle for second place has not run its course. Far from it, because Binder now has just got to within 0.9 of a second of Jorge Martinez. Martin just running out of rear grip here late on.
Yeah, he did a 1:46.1, as you say, which isn't exactly a slow lap time, but we've got a few riders who perhaps weren't sure how much grip they'd have at the late stages of this Grand Prix, given how little drag attack time there was earlier in the weekend, and they're being pleasantly surprised by how much they've got in these latter stages. Vinales and Quartararo also set personal best last time round, both in the high 1:45s. Bastianini's got an interesting role to play here, hasn't he, in 9th position. He did a 46.0, lost 0.4 to Bagnaia. How hard will Bastianini fight up against the championship challenger to him, and of course the leading challenger for Ducati, Bagnaia, who's now closing right in on the back again of his future teammate?
Yeah, he fancies 7th here. He fancies having a crack at Quartararo and Vinales, not just Bastianini ahead of him. What can he do? He is running out of time. He's got 4 laps and a couple of corners remaining. It will not be easy to pass. And now Bastianini, of course, the strong point of the Ducati is its braking stability. They're on almost identical machinery here, but Bagnaia by far has got the better speed. Oh, that's lovely. That's brilliant by Pecco Bagnaia. That was a superb move going through that third gear, turn 12. There was nothing that the beast could do about that one. So now he claws back one very precious point on Quartararo in this championship charge.
And the Yamaha team will surely now be telling Fabio Quartararo that the next rider behind him is his chief championship rival, Pecco Bagnaia. They were 8th and 9th. Bagnaia did a 46.1. Even with that overtake, you can see how hard Fabio Quartararo is trying up ahead of him on the brakes. He did a 46.4. He's basically being dictated his pace by what Vinales is doing up ahead of him, but he might soon have some trouble with his chief title rival up behind. 3.5 laps remain.
And surely now Bastianini will not make a lunge to try and get back on Pecco Bagnaia. If this was a fight for the win, well, you could bet your last pound, you could bet your house that he would do, but this is a fight just for 9th place. It would carry a big risk, wouldn't it, if he was trying to make that move. The only person that knows what he's going to do is the man sat on the top of that number 23 machine. But this man has been untouchable. A class apart here so far at the Mobility Resort Motegi. Jack Miller on course for a stunning, dominant victory here. A runaway success for Miller. He powers the Ducati towards the 90-degree corner on lap 21 of 24. Miller over 5 seconds clear. Now, this has been one of the most dominant performances of 2022, has it? Very much game on, though, in terms of the battle for second place. Brad Binder, he's just over half a second through sector 3 behind Martin.
Yeah, it looked like Martin had stabilised it on the previous lap. He got back down into the low 146s again, but the time has really plummeted on this lap again. They're going to come now around to complete lap 22. Jack Miller's way up in the distance now, over 5 seconds clear, and it was another half-second loss for Martin on the last lap, a 46.0 for Brad Binder. He's now just 0.3 of a second behind as one KTM attacks. The other is defending because Marc Marquez still fancies 4th from Oliveira.
3 laps to go, and this could potentially be Marc Marquez's first overtake of the entire race. He started on pole position, of course, over 1,000 days since his last pole here back in 2019. Bagnaia, having got through on Bastianini, was able to gap him immediately. He took half a second out of the beast on that last lap, so it looks like Bastianini, the best he can hope for is 10th place.
Binder nearly ran into the back of Jorge Martin. He's just got so much more confidence under braking to try and make a move on Jorge Martin. This feels like a matter of time, really. He's not got much time to make this move, Brad Binder, but he is visibly faster than the number 89 ahead of him, Martin, who was the only rider who looked like he had a remote chance of staying with Miller early on. He's now just got to fight and claw his way to try and hold on to P2.
This is fantastic late race pace here by Marc Marquez, given the fact he's on that software.
There he goes.
Here he goes for it. That's classic Marquez, and it just squeezes the inside line on Miguel Oliveira. Oliveira couldn't turn in. So Marc Marquez on that software tyre, as we mentioned, that's fantastic late race speed. There'll be some severe tyre wear on that software for Marquez, but it looks like he will take 4th place. That's his first move then, halfway around that lap 22. Luca Marini also might be thinking he could pick off Oliveira here for yet another 4th place. Twice in the last 3 Grand Prix, Marini's had a 4th in the Red Bull Ring and in Mazzara. That will be an equal best result in MotoGP for him. Binder now all over the back of Jorge Martin. Now this is the difference between the medium rear tyre that Martin has and Binder's hard rear tyre. At this stage of the Grand Prix, conventional wisdom will suggest that Binder should have the superior rear grip. Martin, though, still doing a fantastic job of holding on to that P3.
This is a key battle between Quartararo and Bagnaia. You were briefly riding on board with him on the left-hand side of the screen, but this is about, we're talking about 1 position and 1 World Championship point, but this is the difference between an 11-point championship lead for Quartararo and a 9-point lead. If Bagnaia can get through, he's a bit too far back from there, even though he does close in under braking. Never will Fabio Quartararo ever have worked hard and fought as hard as this for 8th position, but he needs to hold Bagnaia off.
High tension, high pressure and high stakes here then between Quartararo and Bagnaia, the top 2 men in this World Championship. Can Fabio Quartararo hang on to what would be a very valuable 8th place? Not the result he was hoping for, not the result we expected from him. Always a Sunday man, isn't he? Marc Marquez still resisting Miguel Oliveira, who's trying to wrestle back that 4th place he lost on the previous lap to the 8 times world champion. Here comes Oliveira trying to make a move on the inside of turn 9. He will not be close enough.
Yeah, and Bagnaia's not close enough. Bastianini still sat there. We're still waiting to see what kind of role he does play, whether he does just sit there or maybe he'll wait to see what kind of action unfolds up ahead of him. But we're now into the final stages of this penultimate lap, lap 23 of 24, just over 4.8 kilometres remaining this Grand Prix, and still Brad Binder tries to make a move on Jorge Martin. Martin's got one more lap to hang on.
You know it's coming. Binder he's going to go for it. There's no way on the last lap that Brad Binder is not going to have a lunge at Martin directly ahead of him. There in the top left-hand corner of your screen is the runaway leader, Jack Miller, who is just about, well, he started the last lap now. Miller will have a humongous lead of 5.4 seconds over the line. Quartararo gets the pit board. Directly behind him is Pecco Bagnaia. G3, that means a group of 3. Bagnaia trying to attack on the brakes into that first corner. He's not close enough.
Quartararo is good on the brakes, so Bagnaia really will want to use the straight line speed.
Yeah, Binder has got through on Martin, then he's got that 2nd place. We knew the move was going to come. He's just kept that better time up.
Oh, Bagnaia
no! Pecco Bagnaia's crashed! Can you believe it? What an error by Pecco Bagnaia. Head in hands for the Italian on the last lap. What drama here in Motegi. We lost Alexis Spargaro on the warm-up lap, a technical problem for the factory of Aprilia, and Pecco Bagnaia has blown it on the last lap. He goes for the inside move on Fabio Quartararo. He almost collected Fabio Quartararo as well there, going into turn number 3. We've seen that before, haven't we, this season from Bagnaia, when he's been in great positions to put the pressure at the top of the championship. Is that the biggest blow
yet?
It's
a sarcastic round of applause that he gave. I wondered whether that was directed at Quartararo, but he was fairly allowed to turn in there, Quartararo into the corner. Bagnaia makes the mistake. Suddenly that 8th place and those 8 points look very significant, don't they?
Pecco Bagnaia, can you believe it? There will be no 6th successive podium for him. It's another DNF to block the copybook of the Italian here. 3 corners left. Here comes Luca Marini trying to find that 4th place on Oliveira. He's got the inside line. It looks like it's going to be another 4th place for Marini.
Marquez is just ahead of him.
Marquez is in 4th place. Here comes Jack Miller though, the Aussie. It's Miller magic in Motegi. What a ride by the factory Ducati man. He takes a 4th win of his MotoGP career. The stunning late charge by Brad Binder secures him 2nd place. His first podium since the opening night in Qatar. Jorge Martin takes 3rd, his first rostrum since Barcelona. Marquez is 4th from pole. Oliveira 5th. Marini in 6th place. Vinales takes 7th. Quartararo comes over the line in 8th place and increases his World Championships lead after a last lap disaster for Ducati's Pecco Bagnaia. There was Alexis Spargaro. He comes over the line 16th place. A disastrous day then for Pecco Bagnaia.
First Grand Prix this season, he's not scored any points, of course, and Fabio Quartararo came across the finish line and immediately looked behind him. You will have been able to see the grin through his crash helmet when he realised that Bagnaia wasn't there.
Jack Miller, that was without any question the ride of his MotoGP career. That feels like, I'm not saying not diminishing in his 3 previous victories, but of course his first win in Aston in 2016 was in a 2-part Grand Prix. He won that flag-to-flag race in Le Mans. He won the Spanish Grand Prix in Jerez, and Fabio Quartararo crashed out of the lead. That will feel like the best victory of this man's career. Jack Miller was just completely untouchable. Thriller Miller, to say the least. What a performance by the Australian. The perfect tonic for him as he prepares to head home to Phillip Island for the first time in 2019. The 10th win of the 27-year-old's Grand Prix career. 4th in MotoGP. His first, of course, in Le Mans last season. A great late fight there between Brad Binder and Jorge Martin. It went the way of the South African. This was his move on Martin late on. Oh, that was close.
Did he just, you could see him taking a slightly wider entry there, and as he turns it tighter, Martin taking what is probably a normal line for him really through turns 1 and 2, but Binder able to turn it tighter and go through into 2nd place. Wow. So much action on that final lap, of course, with Bagnaia crashing out of the Grand Prix